You've been going to the gym, eating clean, and can't seem to make progress. The scale isn't changing, and the energy you bring into work, your family, and life in general seems to be on a downtrend year after year. If that sounds like you, then you have to look at the delta of health. Without these three pillars, it doesn't matter how much effort you put in or salads you eat. You will end up on the same downward path you've been. It took me 15 years to get these frameworks, the same ones that I use with my clients. So make sure you take out a notepad because we're gonna go over a lot of valuable stuff here. No distractions, let's get into it. This gets its name because a delta is the gap between 2 points. The bigger that gap is, the more you are missing out on for your time and effort. Some people have a big delta between their exercise and their recovery. Others, their exercise and their fuel. A really good example that a lot of people run into is for someone trying to lose weight. That has a big delta between their exercise and their fuel. They might run for 3 hours and burn, let's say 1,000 calories, but then they come back home and they eat 3 times their calorie burn. They have a really big delta between the exercise and the fuel. The best workout plan is worthless without good recovery and diet. The best diet won't get you results if you're not exercising well and you're not sleeping well. And it's impossible to have good sleep without a solid diet and solid exercise. We have 5 key principles: yin, variety, building, improving, connecting. Let's start with probably the most important one, which is building muscle. Muscle is highly functional and it's the key for getting you out of pain, having a toned body, and good hormonal health. Listen, even if you're trying to lose weight, you need muscle to have a toned body. If you just lose a lot of weight, but you either don't have a good base of muscle, or worse, you lose the muscle you have, you just end up looking like a smaller, flabbier version of yourself. Muscle also helps get blood flow that heals joints, and then eventually you can build muscle around a joint to act like body armor. It'll absorb force and it'll protect that joint to avoid from getting injured again. The other thing that muscle does is it helps increase your metabolism. Many of the diseases you see that occur out here in the Western world happen due to metabolic issues, things like diabetes and Alzheimer's. You can avoid a lot of these by just having a higher metabolism. How do we up our metabolism? More muscle mass. The extra bonus here is that if you have more muscle mass and a higher metabolism, that means you have more flexibility with your diet. When you go out and you eat something that you probably shouldn't, it's not really gonna be that big a deal because your body can compensate for it. You have to get a muscle to or close to its failure point. It doesn't matter if you use a barbell or your body weight. If you use 5 reps or 500 reps, if you use 5 pounds or 500 pounds, if you get close to failure, your muscle will grow. The way you know that your muscles hit failure is it starts to slow down no matter how fast you try to move it through. So control one way, and the other way you just move it as fast as you safely can. When you can't move it fast anymore, you know you're getting close to failure. The next thing, stretch with tension. When the hardest part of an exercise is the point with the stretch on it, that helps you grow more muscle. We still want to work the other ways, but if you think about it this way, I can make the hardest point of a bicep curl here, or I can make the hardest point out here. If I make this the hardest point, not only will that help improve my mobility, but again, it'll help grow more muscle. We don't want to avoid the other side, but this is a major key if you're trying to build muscle. Next thing is I'm going to skip down here to form, because even if you have the greatest workout plan ever, if your form sucks, not only are you going to increase the wear and tear in your joints, up your injury risk, but you're just not going to get as much out of an exercise. If we can really hone in on connecting to certain areas and having good form, then you will get a lot out of an exercise that you weren't doing before. Wild card here is velocity, and the reason is speed is a multiplier. The amount of force that you put on your calves when you do a weighted calf raise is nothing compared to the amount of force that you put through your calves when you do something like a jump rope or a pogo hop. When you multiply speed, you put way more tension through your muscles. This will make your muscles grow. The other thing this will do, it'll make you faster, more explosive, and able to handle more force. Again, going back to getting out of pain. A big reason why a lot of people are in pain is that their body parts just can't handle a lot of force. Once you've done the other 3 keys and upped your body's ability to handle force, you need to then throw this as the cherry on top to make you truly bulletproof. Let's talk about improving here, because 99% of the people that put out content you see on IG, on YouTube, or a lot of coaches too in the industry come from a bodybuilding and powerlifting background. There's a lot of great things we can learn from there. But if your goal is to stay pain-free and be able to do this for the rest of your life, you can't just focus on building muscle. You also have to focus on stability and mobility. Start with stability. If you're dealing with pain, you need stability to keep your joints safe during unpredictable movement. That also translates well into real life, where not everything is a perfectly stable machine with a perfect grip, perfect angle. Being able to handle more instability is gonna transfer over to things like real life and sport. Let me point out that instability training does not mean doing 500-pound squats on a BOSU ball. That's ridiculous. If you wanna build strength, you build strength. You wanna build stability, you build stability separate. It's simple. It's using tools like isometrics, rings, or just changing your stance a little bit, be it B stance, one leg, one arm. That will give you all the instability you need. On the other end, we have mobility. Strength training can and absolutely will improve your mobility, especially if you're not moving a lot right now. But you can speed up the process way faster than if you just went and did some stretches or went to a yoga class with targeted, not weighted stretches. Sometimes, I wrote this wrong, but sometimes your pain doesn't mean that there's an injury. It means that there's weakness and the brain and body doesn't trust you to enter that range. So with weighted targeted stretching, you can protect, get rid of weak points, and show your body that it is safe to enter a range to which you will magically be more flexible. It's also a secret weapon when it comes to building strength and muscle. Because here's the thing, more exercise option, and if you have more range, you can target more of a muscle in different areas of it. I'll give you an example with the chest. Let's say you got really bad shoulder mobility because you've had an injury. And so right now, all you can do is chest flies like this. This isn't bad, this is okay. But if you had a program that took the time to really improve your mobility and the strength of your joints, what you would find is that you're able to come way out here, get a way meaner stretch on the chest, again, going back to our point above with stretch on tension, and be able to target way more muscle fibers. On top of that, that's gonna make you more bulletproof, because now you can actually be strong in that range, whereas before, if you enter that range, it's probably gonna hurt. Let's talk about connecting the body, because I'll tell you this from being a coach, that traditional strength training and the way we've been taught until very, very recently, only a couple of years ago, has ignored about 50 pounds of your body. And that is fascia. Fascia is the key to athleticism. It's the key to pain-free movement in the long run. What fascia is a spider web of interconnected tissue that runs from the top of your head to the bottom of your foot. It's one big thing. It connects all the organs, all the bones, all the muscle, everything together as one. And the way we work fascia is really simple, and it's just having a good amount of full body integrated movements, and also getting certain muscles that like to coordinate with each other to work with each other in the move. That not only saves you time from bodybuilding style workouts where you're having to train, biceps one day, quads one day, and spending so much unnecessary time in the gym, but it also means that your body's gonna be able to move better as a coordinated unit. This is really key for pain, and a lot of people just have adhesions in their fascia because they're not moving their body as a unit. Key movements that fascia really tends to like also are throwing movements, things that you can do with a mace, a kettlebell even, flow rope, cross body style movements, so anything involving one side of the body versus the other. Being on your tippy toes, so that could be something like a B stand squat, landmine work, or sprinting. Sprinting has two of these elements. Sprinting, you're on your tippy toes, and also it works the body in this cross faction. As one side moves, the other side does something opposite. Now, that does not mean that you fear isolation. Isolation moves like a bicep curl, like a quad extension. These are tools, and they're tools to be used at certain moments. Anyone that tells you that all isolation movements is going to get you hurt doesn't know how to use isolation movements. They are wonderful for rehab and bringing up lagging body parts. Again, you don't use a hammer for everything, in the same way you don't use isolation moves for everything. This can be really key for getting out joint pain too. Just listen. If you live in a 3D space, why is most of your training happen like this? Most movements are this way or this way, but there's all these other angles and directions, all these other parts of your muscle and your fascia that you're not addressing. When you add in more 3D movement, not only does that give you more movement options, it keeps your fascia healthy and hydrated, and it improves your mobility. If you just looked at the typical power lifter, someone dealing with back pain, they're only doing a squat, bench, and deadlift. They might not even have to do all this other joint stuff. They literally just added in some deep hip extension through things like lunges, Bulgarians, ATGs, or some lateral movement with stuff like Cossack squats or addressing their adductors. If all they did was added in 2 potential exercises, they could have immediate back pain relief instead of having to spend all this money they do going to chiros and masseuses. There's times and places for that. But if you want to get out of pain long term, you got to look at your movement diet. What other movements are you doing? Do you have variety in your movement? And a nice addition here is yin movements. Yin movements do a couple key things for us. 1, they help you get blood flow in to recover faster. 2, they improve your alignment and the way your body moves, and they're low impact. Yin movements can be overdone, but when dosed at the correct ways, they can help speed up the healing process. Some yin movements are walking, sled work, flow ropes, target stretching, and AGMs. That's a term I got from Thoughtful Meathead. Check him out on Instagram. He makes a lot of really good content, and it's pretty much just, if you go to the park, like I'm from New York, if you go to the park and you see some random Asian grandma doing these very Tai Chi flowy movements, those are really great at just getting blood flow into an area. With target stretching, we also have real tissue work. 99% of the people you see using the foam roller don't know how to use it. They just run up on it real quick, 5 minutes before they work out, and that's about it. When you use a foam roller, a lacrosse ball, any type of pressure, slowly, deliberately, looking for certain areas, it can be a game changer for tightness, pain, and overall recovery. Fuel, aka nutrition, is called that for a very specific reason. I want you to look at what you put into your body as fuel. It's not just food. A lot of people want a supercar performance from their body. They want it to look like a supercar, they want it to feel like a supercar. But then they go out and they feed it, they fuel it with the cheapest gas possible. When you look at what you put in your body as fuel, and if you want your body to look and perform like a supercar, you will fuel it like a supercar. All goals fall apart without it. Doesn't matter if you're trying to recover from injury, you need high protein. If you're trying to build muscle, you need protein. If you're trying to lose weight, you need protein. It isn't just about keeping your muscle when it comes to weight loss, but also it's about being full. We'll get into that in a little bit. Stay with me here. 0.8 to 1.5 grams is ideal for body weight. If you're trying to gain weight, aim for the lower end. Focus more on your calories, but have a decent base of protein. For athletes or those trying to recover from an injury, medium to high end on protein. And if you're trying to lose weight, you can go all the way to the highest end. Now, when it comes to the sources of protein, the best ones are animal sources because they're the most usable, they're the best per calorie, and they have a lot of nutrients, which we're going to go into a little bit later. These are some really good options, relatively lean. You can get this cheap too. Now, some people might say, hey, eating all this animal protein has certain drawbacks, and they're absolutely right. But you can counter a lot of these with the peptides that you find in collagen-based meats and organs, things like bone broth, oxtail, liver, a chuck roast, skin on fish and chicken. A lot of these peptides help counter the negative effects of having too much meat in your diet. A note on plant protein. You absolutely can get protein in from plants, but there's 2 big things. 1, not all of it is easily usable. In some cases, you have to combine certain plants in order to have it actually help with building muscle. 2, again, we don't get collagen, which also is very helpful for you trying to recover from joints, as collagen is what makes up joints and helps keep fascia healthy. And 3, you may need a lot of extra calories to get even a little bit of the protein from these, which is going to come with way less calories. If you're getting a lot of value from this, shoot me a follow. There'll be a lot more content like this coming. Probably some simpler ones. We're going on the deep dive here. Also, don't forget to write your notes below. Let's get into the metabolism and your hormones, because regardless of what some bro science guy tells you, you will not feel good if you just live on protein shakes. If you have better hormones, healthy hormones, that means you're gonna lose fat easier, you're gonna gain muscle easier, you're gonna have less brain fog and more energy, focus, and drive to do what you need to do in your life. If you live in the Western world, you're probably missing a couple key nutrients. Americans in particular, 45% of us are deficient in vitamin A, 46% of us are deficient in vitamin C, 95% of people are deficient in vitamin D, 84 in vitamin E. This is just a very small list. No, your Walmart brand multivitamin will not cover all of that. You need a varied diet with high quality supplements for your specific needs. Let me point one thing out. Multivitamins do not work. There's a lot of reasons for that. It could be bad quality. It could be the fact that some vitamins, they interact with each other and then counter each other. It's not the point. You can deal with this purely with diet and then targeted supplements. Some great places to start, and notice I put food here because food is the best way to get all of these. Iodine, B vitamins, omega-3s, vitamin C, magnesium, vitamin D. Pause and screenshot these if you want to look at the actual foods involved, or shoot me a message, I can just send you a link to it. But understand that your hormones are important and they're under attack. The average 20-year-old in America now has the hormonal testosterone level of a 60-year-old just a couple decades back. So you have to be on top of this if you want to have good health. Notice how a lot of these things, both in the movement, in the fuel, and then once we get into recovery, they all play into each other and are connected. As the ancient and very important Greek physician Hippocrates said, all disease starts in the gut. He also said our food should be medicine, our medicine should be food. You can deal with a lot of issues just with food. Again, that connects back to your hormones and your metabolism. Gut health alone is responsible for cancers, sleep, skin, kidney health, mood, mental health, depression, blood sugar. So many issues can be resolved with good gut health. Now to start, collagen-based meats heal and build the gut lining. For someone who may be dealing with severe gut issues, you may not want extra fiber at first. Eventually it's something to add in, but if you are dealing with something like IBS, extra fiber may not be your best friend. Regardless, fermented foods like yogurt, sauerkraut, and kimchi can support it. Eventually, adding in fiber can help. Wild card here, when it comes to diet, is feeling good. The people who stay lean 24/7 don't feel like they're on a diet. I haven't felt like I've been on a diet for a very long time. If you call your diet a diet, and unless you are a die-hard identifier with it in the way that you see a lot of vegans, carnivore, keto people be, you won't stick to it. Also, you can actually enjoy healthy, varied food. You don't have to eat like a bodybuilder and eat chicken and rice that's unseasoned. Seasoning does not add calories. A lot of people struggle with changing to healthy diets because the food doesn't taste good or because the meals are repetitive. If you have non-repetitive, non-boring meals that you actually look forward to, you're probably going to stick to your new diet or your new lifestyle change, I should call it. For those trying to lose weight, this whole system can also help us out by making you so full that you can't overeat. This is a quote from one of my older clients, Sandra, who, when she switched to the style of eating that we do here, she was saying that she's stuffed, but the scale was going down. How do we achieve this effect? 2 key things. 1, we use the most filling macros, proteins and fat. Again, it's why protein is our priority. Protein reduces your ghrelin levels, which is the hunger hormone. It also increases certain peptides and takes up volume. The other thing, speaking of volume, is high filling foods. Potatoes, soups, things that we can use to make you feel fuller and have you not snack and overeat on unhealthy food. This is technically the most important one. Sleep is the highest pillar when it comes to health, but it's hard and damn near impossible to change without affecting your movement and your diet. That being said, there's a couple key things we can do to improve this, to improve our overall sleep hygiene. Let's start with improving your den or your bedroom. Studies show again and again that colder rooms are better for sleep. You want to shoot for around 60 to 67 degrees. Obviously, you're going to have your own preferences, but those are found to be the best for hitting deep REM sleep. Your brain actually has to drop about 3 degrees Fahrenheit in order to hit those stage 3, stage 4 REM sleep. Light is an enemy, so if you can get blackout curtains, if you can wear a sleep mask, anything you can do, turn off extra screen, don't have the TV running. If you want to have noise, but don't have light. The last thing is that if your brain is used to you doing work, to you eating, to you being on your phone, to you being stressed while you're in bed, what do you think are the odds are that it's going to be easy for you to fall asleep when you get in bed? You should really only be in bed for 2 reasons: making love, falling asleep. That's it. Your brain is an association making machine, and it associates locations and things to activities. Let's make it associate just falling asleep. I'm willing to bet every single dollar I've ever made in my life that within the next 10 years, the light diet will be a major discussion when it comes to overall health and longevity. The sun sets your clock, your internal clock and your internal rhythms. Because your body naturally already releases melatonin. You don't have to take it a supplement. The more sunlight you get, the better. There's 3 important times that again help set your clock as to when your body releases melatonin. Number 1 is the sunrise, 2 is high noon, and 3 is the sunset. Nice thing about the high noon is it's also very helpful for upping your vitamin D levels. Blue light, on the other hand, kills and disrupts our clock. What can we do? Avoid screen time an hour before bed. Everyone says this, but it really is such a game changer. The next thing is dim lights as bedtime approaches. If I'm going to bed at 11, then at 9 p.m., if I got 3 lights on, I'm turning off 1 light. 10 p.m., turning off another light. 10:30, I'm turning off another light. The last 30 minutes is fully dark. That tells my brain to release melatonin, and that helps get me sleepier and sleepier. The other thing you can do, if you gotta do work late at night, get a pair of blue blockers, or you can put a red filter on your iPhone. That is super helpful for falling asleep easier. This is a controversial topic for a lot of people, but it's playing with extremes. Some people love and rave cold plunging. If you get it in the morning, it can definitely help with sleep. That being said, a lot of people hate it. And so we want to make the process of you being healthy as easy as possible. Using steam rooms and sauna for everyone is a game changer. Not only can it improve sleep, but it can also improve joint pain, brain health, works as a form of cardio, and improves overall healing and getting blood flow to areas like joints. Cold plunging for certain people, especially dealing with certain hormonal issues, may not be helpful. Most of us try to go from 100 miles per hour to 0 instantly. Work, meetings, stress, to then falling asleep. It doesn't really make sense. The breath and the way you use breathing acts like a gear shift in your body. When you combine breath work with deep stretching or deep real tissue work, you can shift from fight or flight to rest and digest easily within 5 minutes. Here, I have connections for every single one. The way movement affects fuel, the way movement affects recovery, the way fuel affects recovery, the way all 3 affect each other. To sum it up really briefly, poor recovery messes with movement and then leads to worse fuel choices due to cravings. Poor fuel kills performance in movement and makes recovery harder. And poor movement makes recovery not as deep and messes with your cravings. They reinforce each other in a cycle. A lot of people are missing one piece. And if all you did was figure out which one of these 3 pieces is getting in the way of your progress, you would make progress 1,000,000 times faster. If any questions, shoot them in the comments below and I'll get back to it as soon as I possibly can. For those that are looking for a full process that takes into account everything, your recovery, your movement, and your diet, those looking to get out of joint pain, or those that don't have the time to go to a gym, shoot me a comment down below saying rebuild, or check out my Instagram.